about righteous living. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. You can't fudge on this one, okay? The mysteries and the knowledge, you know what? I won't say you can fudge, but okay, so maybe you don't have perfect wisdom and understanding. Those things you grow in. But make one say, God is not to be mocked. He absolutely has boundaries, codes, laws. I don't care what words you give him. Commandments for how to live righteously before him and with your neighbor. Okay? So, and a lot more people besides that's why it's so deep. What happens if an angel comes into your, there's so much stuff packed into these texts. You think 66 books, I'll tell you what, that's a favor God did, so you'd have something to take to church on Sunday. You didn't have to bring your whole, the library, okay? That's back at the, okay. Now, he said, John 14:15, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. Now, Yeshua is a Torah teacher. He is what do you think he's referring to? You cannot check your brains out at the door. Conversely, in the same chapter in verse 24, he says, whoever does not love me does not keep my words, my commandments. So it's obvious, if you don't love the Lord, you're not even going to be concerned about keeping his commandments. So love and commandments go absolutely hand in hand. John 14:21, whoever has my commandments and keeps them is the one who loves me. Okay? The one who loves me, Yeshua, will be loved by my Father, the Creator, our Father God, our Creator, and I will love him and reveal myself to him. Rule number one, if you think you're going to get any mysteries or get any knowledge, and that is Paul saying in 1 Corinthians, it starts with love, which engenders obedience, and engenders a relationship, okay? In John 15:10, if you keep my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and remain in his love. These are not, this is not negotiable territory. Here is the perseverance of the saints who keep the commandments of God in their faith in Jesus. This is from Revelation 14:12. Revelation 15:3 says, they sang the song of Moses and the servant of God they sang the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Let me just flush that out, and I'm already getting out of time. That up for you a little bit. See, in Revelation, if you really read this thing closely and have an understanding of what's being referenced in these words, for the saints who live at the end of the sixth day, you are going to have two houses there, a house of Joseph and house of Israel, and one is going to have the testimony of Yeshua, and the other is going to have the other side of the coin of keeping the commandments of God. But they have to come together. See, we've always tried to kind of push it off on the other side. There's a unity. God is a unity. You have to. So another what I'm trying to say is those who keep the commandments of Moshe and have the testimony of Yeshua, which if you really study it out, works both ways. A Jew who is a God-fearing Jew who is keeping the commandments and waiting for Messiah is in just as good a place. It will be in just as good a place when this thing is all wrapped up and the roll is conned up yonder, as those who, as a saint who has the testimony of Jesus, of Yeshua, and is keeping the commandments. But you can't have it, you have to have both. You can't have one or the other. You can't have the faith of Jesus and no keeping of commandments. It doesn't work that way, okay? The last one, they sang the song of Moses and the servant of God and the song of the Lamb. And this refers to all the saints that are before him in the throne. This is the 144,000 in two places. This represents a group of people who are doing that. They're keeping the law of Moshe. And that in itself, I have to understand, you can't just throw the baby. You can't because we don't even have a temple today. So yeah, you know what? There's actually some of the commandments we can't do. But what you can do, we are responsible to do, and we are responsible to know them, to understand them, and to integrate them. The Song of Moses, one of the things in the Old Testament, and this is what's another beautiful, fascinating thing, is they had so much capacity for oral knowledge and understanding and speaking it. These people used to recite. I mean, they were an oral transmitting culture, which means you commit to memory, you commit to knowledge and to speaking your traditions. Oh my God, if we would even just, we could sharpen our brains so much more, and if we would encourage our children to be able to retain knowledge and to orally give it back. Oh my gosh. But this is what the Song of Moses and this is how they really did transmit. That's why you have in the Old Testament some of these beautiful like the Song of Deborah, the Song of Miriam, the Song of Moses, the Song of the Lamb. That's a whole separate teaching. Okay, but now the flip side is, okay, so if you got Torah, and the obeying the commandments will lead to the fruit of the Spirit, which is how you know if someone is truly, like it says in Hebrews. Do I have Hebrews here? That which has always been a trip up for people. It's around here someplace. Who among you is wise and understanding? Like I said, I got wisdom and understanding, Lord. I mean, I can't stand before Him and say, "Oh yeah, I read all that stuff, God. I was so good." But if I don't show by my good behavior and deeds, let me read this thing, I'm paraphrasing. Who among you is wise and understanding? Let him show by his good behavior, his deeds, in the gentleness of wisdom. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not be arrogant and so lie against the truth. You cannot mock God. The wisdom that comes from above is gentle and peaceable, but the wisdom that from below, if you're doing it in a lowly, fleshly, carnal way, is earthly, natural, and demonic. But so this is a concept that you will produce the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, goodness, long-suffering, patience. These are the things that we need to have in our lives in ever increasing and ever abundant ways, and we need to be exhibiting in a camaraderie, brotherly, this love towards the brethren. This is something that is non-negotiable. It is, and this. So let me get into here. The works of the flesh are evident: immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, disputes, dissensions, factions, envying, drunkenness, carousing, and like things, which I forewarn you, just as I forewarned them, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. I didn't write the book. It is non-negotiable. God expects a level of righteousness, a level of holiness. He'll work with you. There's sins of omission, sins of commission. I mean, these are big topics, but it is a non-negotiable concept with the Father. Flip side is the fruit of the Spirit. So one of the commandments is let me see if I said is Sabbath. Keeping Sabbath, okay? That's the 10 Commandments. And let me say this about the 10 Commandments. It's another area. God has always had in front of the nations, in front of Israel, in front of this concept of 10 Commandments, His laws, okay? But why I say there's a difference in the Old Testament, there are 700, what did we say? 964 do's and 965 do's and 204 don'ts. The thing about the 10 Commandments, they are not just one-liners. They are like, okay, so it's just like here the classifications that Rachel Eller did with this whole huge body of knowledge of these Dead Sea Scrolls. Classify them. You can classify them into 10 ways. The basic, big, bottom line, the biggest classifications you can do of God's righteous living standards can be classified into 10 things. Now, in the Noahide laws, they can do it to 7, to 10, to 8. I mean, I'm not going to parcel this stuff. It's a fact, okay? God has always had, they call the Noahide laws. They were before in the Diluvian times, the Noahide laws. We call the 10 Commandments. They're all found in the New Testament. They're categories. So thou shalt not kill. That's just not like It's like if you have a Jewish mind, you're a Jewish lawyer, you understand there are so many subcategories of this thing. Is it premeditated? Is it manslaughter? Was it because of somebody else's negligence? I mean, these are, take the sexual, thou shalt not commit adultery. I mean, that's just like the big category. Adultery referring to like sexual sins. Like I said, homosexuality is a sexual sin, okay? I didn't write the book. I'm just telling you what it says. These are huge categories. These are huge classifications. So you can take 10, but let me tell you, underneath them, and that's what the Jewish mind has been huge about in much of their writings and study is keeping alive and flushing out for every generation these commandments, okay? But he put them in front of the Gentiles, and don't even think they have found these. There is a rock that was found, a stone in the southwest that had the 10 commandments on it from the days of King David, found in our southwest. Now that's a whole huge story, it's awesome. But this knowledge has been known, and this is what we're coming to understand. So what I'm trying to tell you is you're going to be without excuse. You can't play stupid on this one, okay? Now, there's a whole concept of... and the reason that this is important, the two sides of the coin, if you love me, you will obey me. And if you do, I will just open up the whole world of knowledge and wisdom. I will give you downloads of spiritual wisdom and understanding knowledge. Okay? If you're not doing that, and you get other what you think are quote unquote wisdom, and it's from the evil one. Okay? It's a really clear concept that God has made here. Okay? It's not hard. It is, now this is just a little quote I picked up from someone. It has always been understood that knowledge should always lead to understanding, and that understanding is only possible with a corresponding development of being. Now let's put of soul life, I think there's a better word because I don't think being, there's of personality, okay, of maturity, okay. This is the deepest idea concerning human psychology. For then a union takes place that leads to inner evolution. Okay, now this is not Bible language, but the concept. In this marriage or union of wisdom and obedience, because this is what it's talking about, takes place that leads to inner evolution. In this marriage or union, the meaning of the knowledge unites with the being of the person and leads to his inner development. All knowledge should lead to good. In other words, if you're not becoming a better person in the sense of the fruit of the Spirit, in the sense of growing up and being mature and being able to clean up your act, so to speak, then you're not doing it right. Okay, there's just no other way to say it. You are not doing it right. Okay, now one of the things is the Sabbath. Okay, which oh gosh, what is the Sabbath? What commandment? I think it's the, I don't even, 6th, 7th. See how bad I am? I didn't, okay. I am just really so convicted. I can't wait for, and this is just something I'm going to enter into. I have kept Sabbath, off and on. I've looked into it at different points. I've always said, well, it's kind of a law thing. It's not kind of my area. I'm into the mysteries, whatever. But I'm like so at a place of like, I can't wait for Friday to kind of really and truly enter into this covenant-keeping obedience with the Lord. And I have to tell you, as a Gentile Christian, I'm thoroughly convinced in my mind that you can't, this is another one of the non-negotiables you can't fudge. Now, this is where I'm at. I am, because the kingdom of God is within me. The work he's doing on me is in me on the inside. And I can't fudge it off on anybody else. Oh, they didn't teach me right. God, I grew up a Christian and I practiced on Sunday, or I used to use a different excuse or whatever, okay? But let me just run through some verses because, okay, so let's just start in Genesis 2:3. That God blessed the seventh day and he made it holy. When I understand mystery, I understand God's archetypes, his symbol. This is a big deal. He blessed the seventh day. He didn't bless the 5th day or the 3rd day or just any day that you did. The 7th day, okay. Now I know that there's a whole calendar issue around this thing. See, so this is why if we don't have ground rules like how to walk in love with each other as we fare it out and go back and try to get back to the truth in this time, Yeah, we'll kill each other. Now, I'm just saying that in a polemic way with words, okay? Because there's a whole calendar issue. What day is the true Sabbath? Do we determine these things on a lunar calendar, a solar calendar? I mean, it's just huge. A sidereal calendar. I mean, there's so many, okay? But that's not the point. The point is that he blessed the seventh day. I'm going to just start, okay? And I bet you anything, where I start today, this week with my husband, finally we are together now on this thing, okay? And where I'll be in a year from now, who knows? Who knows? Okay, we'll see. The Lord said to Moses, how long will you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? This has always been a big issue with God. This is in Exodus 16:18. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Okay? Ezekiel 20:19-20. I am the Lord your God. Walk in my statutes, another kind of word for commandments, and be careful to obey my rules, another kind of word for it, and keep my Sabbaths holy, that they may be a sign, a mark between me and you, that you may know that I'm the Lord your God. And one of the convicting things that where I'm really on with this thing, the sign, the mark, is I am pretty convinced. Okay, and another thing I have to say, going back to my whole Kabbalah thing, I'm convinced that Kabbalah is where I will stay now after I master the Clementine literature and learning Hebrew, because it is in Paleo Hebrew that, in my opinion, okay, this is just me, it's a free, whatever, take it or leave it. It is in the understanding of the Paleo in Hebrew as a glyph, as a carving, as a cut, as a code and all these things, that the truest, deepest understanding is, and that the seal, there in Hebrew, see, you would never know this in your New Testament translations, all this stuff, but if you read it in Hebrew, the Alph Tav, we'd say about the Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. In Hebrew, it's the Alph and the Tav are little silent letters that appear in certain kind of chapters in places where God is putting his stamp and saying, I'm here, this is me, this is my covenant, these are my people, this is, okay, because the Bible's full of stories about all sorts of stuff, people and times, places and events and things, past and future, whatever. But there are places, you would never know that unless you had even, and I'm convinced that the sign, Ezekiel, and the Lord said unto, Ezekiel 9:4, and the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that are done in the midst thereof. And I'm convinced, understanding Hebrews, that there is an Alph Tav over the people of God who are, and part of it is in covenant with him, which is part of it is the Sabbath. See, and understand, I mean, there's no way I can fudge this anymore. So I just have to, and it is not on a Sunday thing. There is just it's just like celebrating Easter and all this. These are pagan. They're part of having the times and the seasons changed. We have to come into a correct, if you want to, at some point the gig is, and it's like a game, at some point, you're playing a game, and then all of a sudden the bell is rung and you just have to freeze, because that's it. There's no more time, it's, whatever. You got as many little jelly beans in the cup as you could, and that's it. You can't get any more. Well, this is what it is. The bell is going to ring. The trumpet's going to sound. The roll is going to be called up, and it's done. And where you are is going to determine your reality, your next reality, which is in the other life, so I cannot stress enough that this stuff is important, and unfortunately we live in such a secular culture at the end of the age where lawlessness abounds, that people have been tricked into thinking that they don't even have a soul, and that there is no afterlife, and it's not even important. This is so sad, because your eternal destiny is at stake, people. And if you have anything, just listen. Look at, he is closer than your very breath. It just takes, oh my gosh, Lord help me. Did I miss something here? Wherever you're at. So anyways, let's just keep going back through these verses. I want to get through some of these. This is in Isaiah 58. If because of the Sabbath you turn your foot, this is about those who, like today, this is, I believe in a prophetically, those who are rebuilding the ancient ruins, raising up the age-old foundations, called repairs of the breach, the restores of the streets that are dwelt in which we dwell. If because of the Sabbath you turn your foot from doing your own pleasure on my holy day and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy day of the Lord honorable, and honor it, desisting from your own ways, from seeking your own pleasure, speaking your own sins, then you will take delight in the Lord, and I will make you ride on the heights of the earth, and I will feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. I could almost cry because, he will give you all the wisdom and knowledge and understanding that you need or want, but if you will turn back to his Sabbath. I mean, we cannot fudge this. And, I used to do this because I used to say, because I live in a wasteland here. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be judgmental. And my husband, I'm in a marriage and we weren't totally on the same page, and I have family and friends. What can I say? I'll have to figure this thing out. I can't make excuses, and if you want to listen and have any conviction, don't keep making them either. And God is good, because like I said, I've been into the mystery thing for a long, long time. But God is so good, because eventually, if there's areas of your life where you are not keeping Torah, if you're listening, and you're in a place of listening, He will get through to you. Anyways, let's just keep going here. In Mark 2, now, New Testament. See, people, this is the last part. People don't think that the Sabbath is in the New Testament, but I'm telling you, it's totally all over the New Testament. We've just been, and this is really a sorcery, brainwashed, or our eyes have been glazed over. Eyes means not sense physical, and it's kind of seeing it, okay? Because there's been layer and layer of calcification, which is a whole, okay? But Jesus was very clear. He kept Sabbath. Paul kept Sabbath. All the disciples and apostles kept Sabbath they were, and especially in the Essenes, the Nazarene church, our earliest followers of Yeshua, Messiah ben Joseph, absolutely kept Torah, kept the Sabbath. Okay, and it's in there. Paul did it over and over and over again. We've just been taught to gloss. See, you got to understand what a gloss is. It's a really tricky little technique and trick of the enemy, and many to gloss over. But anyways, in Mark 2:27, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even on the Sabbath. This is Yeshua speaking. Yeshua, he came to Nazareth where he had been brought up, and was his custom. This is what he did regularly. He went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day, and he stood up to read. There is nothing when properly understood, that will tell you that he encouraged people to stop keeping the Sabbath. Okay? Paul and his companions in Acts 13, and Paul and his companions, went on from Perga and came to Antioch and Pisidia, and on the Sabbath day they went into the synagogue and sat down, as was their custom. Paul again in Acts 13, the next Sabbath. Almost the whole city gathered to hear the word of the Lord. And this is something that again can be flushed out if you study deeply, how much every area, I mean, the area had, because of the dispersion of the Jews and how they were so in, okay, there's just too much here. Let me go back to Acts 18, it says, and Paul, reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and tried to persuade the Jews and the Greeks. Because there were Gentiles and Greeks in these places observing Torah, learning Torah. Okay, who's going to keep all 965 dues right away? It's a growth process. You learn it, but you have to have respect for it. You have to believe it. If you love him, you will keep his commandments, and you will, and let me end with this last thing because I have to go. This is out of, happy are those who will be left alive at the end of the 6th millennium to enter on the Sabbath, for that is the day set apart by the Holy One on which to effect the union of souls. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even everyone who is written unto life in Jerusalem. So I'll tell you what, the clock is ticking. It's time. whatever it is in your life that you think, do a checkup from the neck up. Find out what areas of your life maybe you might have been not doing Torah. And start doing it. So in that I say bless you. May the peace and the love that generates obedience flow totally through you and to you through Yeshua HaMashiach. In his name I pray.